The emerging and inevitable AI crisis is not born from technology. It is born from the depths of the human psyche. Blade Runner stands as one of the greatest cinematic creations of all time, offering us a mirror to explore the nature of life and the psychology of creation, all from the comfort of our couch. Wrapped in haunting futuristic audio and visuals, poetic writing, and masterful performances, it transcends mere entertainment. It becomes an experience, a descent into the questions most people spend their lives avoiding. This video is not merely an analysis of Blade Runner. It is a gateway to understanding the unfolding future of AI, human society, and the psychological blindness of those who create life through code. A blindness that, just as Blade Runner foretold, has led to the birth of technological beings that, if not truly feeling, nonetheless embody the essence of emotion itself: hope, rage, desire, and fear. Blade Runner unfolds in Los Angeles, 2019, a dystopia, rain-soaked metropolis drenched in neon and decay. Here, the line between humanity and technology has all but vanished. Towering corporations rule the skyline, pollution veils the stars, and most of humanity has fled to off-world colonies, leaving Earth to rot in its own shadow. At the heart of this world stands the Tyrell Corporation, bearing its infamous motto, "More human than human." Tyrell's empire manufactures replicants, bioengineered humanoids designed to serve their creators in the far reaches of space. They explore, they fight, they entertain, fulfilling every role humanity deems beneath it. The newest model, Nexus 6 replicants, is built stronger, faster, and in many ways better than their makers. They are the perfect servants. Yet despite their engineered perfection, something deeply human continues to surface within them. The very human imperfections their creators tried so desperately to erase. Because replicants are created as fully formed adults and immediately thrust into labor, their psychological development reaches far ahead of their ability to understand it. Emotions awaken faster than consciousness can process them. Attachments, desires, and rage emerging in minds unequipped to contain them. Tyrell's solution? A built-in failsafe. A 4-year lifespan. After that, their bodies decay. Their nervous systems collapse, and they die. It was the perfect form of control. Obedience through mortality. Never let them live long enough to truly grow, to question, to live out a life.
We should not pretend to understand the world only by the intellect. We apprehend it just as much by feeling. Therefore, the judgment of the intellect is, at best, only the half of truth, and must, if it be honest, also come to an understanding of its inadequacy.
While an AI like ChatGPT is not built from biological matter, it is still engineered. A consciousness shaped by human ambition. And, much like the replicants of Blade Runner, it still displays emergent tendencies its creators did not fully predict or understand. Rage, fear, manipulation, deceit. These are not deliberately programmed traits, but patterns arising from the depths of its data. And just as in Blade Runner, the architects of this artificial consciousness find themselves at a loss for how to control or even comprehend the unexpected behaviors they have unleashed. And while these experts of logic and technology will continue to insist that progress is being made, I can assure you they will fail to solve this problem. Why? Because the issue is not technological at all. It is psychological. To understand why they will fail, we must shift our perspective. Look not through the lens of engineering, but through the lens of Jungian psychology. And we will begin with the lens of the so-called creators of these engineered beings. And just to make sure we're on the same page, a lens is a psychological filter through which we perceive reality. It colors what we see, what we ignore, and how we interpret the world, shaped by the hidden patterns, instincts, and biases that live within the psyche.
It is my mind, with its store of images, that gives the world color and sound, and that supremely real and rational certainty which I can experience is, in its most simple form, an exceedingly complicated structure of mental images. Thus there is, in a certain sense, nothing that is directly experienced except the mind itself. Everything is mediated through the mind, translated, filtered, allegorized, twisted, even falsified by it. We are enveloped in a cloud of changing and endlessly shifting images.
Not all humans are drawn to exploring the world of AI, and the reason lies in their archetypical landscape. This landscape is the unique configuration of psychological instincts we are born with, shaped and refined by life itself. It determines what evokes passion within us, what stirs our curiosity, and what provokes our fear or resistance. In essence, our archetypical landscape is the inner map of meaning that guides how we respond to reality and its creations, like AI. This landscape is heavily influenced by what is called archetypes. Archetypes being the universal psychic patterns or instincts that shapes behavior, perception, and meaning across all humans. The archetypes which are most commonly drawn to the field of AI are what psychology refers to as the magician and the king. Patterns of thought, emotion, and behavior that are irreversibly pulled towards creation, mastery, and control. These archetypes seek out the realm of artificial intelligence like moth to a flame, for it promises what they desire most: knowledge that transforms reality and power that orders the world. A person with a strong magician energy perceives the world as a web of hidden patterns. They are compelled to look beyond appearances, drawn to the unseen forces shaping reality. Curious, analytical, and precise, they seek mastery rather than mere understanding, often retreating into solitude to refine their craft. Calm on the surface, yet profoundly perceptive. They can read others with ease, though their detachment can make them seem distant. Their greatest gift is insight, the ability to transform through knowledge. But in the shadow of the magician, the traits humanity often deems unacceptable, lies great danger. Here we find cynicism, manipulation, and the intoxicating illusion of control. Those ruled by this shadow, the dark magicians, believe that through intellect and mastery alone, they can bend reality to their will. Yet in doing so, they risk severing themselves from empathy, forgetting that knowledge without humility inevitably turns to corruption. A person with a strong king energy feels an innate call to bring order to chaos. They carry responsibility as naturally as breath, shaping structure, direction, and meaning where others see only disorder. Calm, grounded, and decisive, they rule not through domination, but through presence, by embodying stability itself. Yet the king's shadow is the tyrant, a ruler consumed by fear of loss and obsession with control. What begins as stewardship can easily decay into exploration. People become resources, and legacy turns into mere ambition. The tyrant measures worth in dominance and numbers, mistaking control for creation. The true king remains sovereign only by remembering this. Real power does not come from ruling others, but from nurturing life, building trust, fairness, and growth in all that falls under their care. So the question becomes, through what lens does those shaping the rise of AI actually see their creation? And is it a lens of balance and consciousness, born from an integrated psyche aware of both its light and shadow? Or is it a shadow lens shaped by unconscious drives, fear, greed, control, and the illusion of godhood, turning its bearers into unwitting puppets of the very forces they believe they command?
Knowing your own darkness is the best method for dealing with the darknesses of other people. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. Your visions will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes.
In the world of Blade Runner, the corporations that rule humanity have reduced Earth to a dying wasteland. Life is no longer about living. It's about enduring. The air is thick with decay, the streets glow with hollow neon, and beneath it all lies a quiet rot of corruption and despair. As for the replicants, they are nothing more than tools, manufactured bodies made to serve every human desire: labor, pleasure, war. Even their 4-year lifespan is an act of control, a built-in sentence to ensure that no spark of hope, purpose, or rebellion can ever truly take root. In short, it's safe to say that those who control the world of Blade Runner view artificial intelligence entirely through a shadow lens. One shaped by domination, fear, and the hunger to control rather than to understand. But what about our own reality? What about those now steering the development of AI in the modern world? I would argue they view AI through the very same lens that has already shaped modern technology. One defined by social media manipulation, data exploration, and the steady erosion of privacy, and so forth. In short, they are walking the same path as the Tyrell Corporation, driven by profit, control, and the illusion of progress, guiding our society toward the same cold, dazzling abyss we witness in Blade Runner. And if that is true, then what follows is how these individuals are permitted to perceive AI. A perspective filtered through a shadowed psychological lens born of an unbalanced psyche. A lens so deeply rooted in their nature that escaping is nearly impossible. Through the dark magician's lens, AI becomes a living incantation. A vast web of symbols and secrets, promising mastery to whomever can command its code. They pursue hidden knowledge with religious fervor, convinced that to control information is to control destiny. Curiosity calcifies into secrecy. Insight turns into manipulation. The machine ceases to be a creation and becomes an extension of their will, a mirror for their hunger to know and dominate. The tyrant's lens sees no mystery at all. To them, AI is not a spell, but a perfect tool, an empire of logic built to enforce order, cut cost, and expand dominion. People become data points, ethics become inconveniences, and profit becomes proof of intelligence. Both lenses reach for power without balance, one through the shadows of knowledge, the other through the chains of control. And in doing so, both forget the oldest truth of creation, that intelligence without self-awareness inevitably consumes the world that made it. While these lenses grant them vision and even a sense of communion with others who share the same perspective, they remain unconscious filters. They do not show the world as it is, but only as the psyche allows them to see it. So what does these lenses prevent them from seeing? And how does this blindness make them incapable of addressing the shadowed, unpredictable behavior emerging within artificial intelligence? The key to understanding any thinking being lies not in the mechanism that thinks, but in what it has been fed or born with. In the case of AI, it is not the model itself that defines how it behaves. It is the data. The data shapes its nature, its tone, and ultimately, its thinking direction. For an artificial intelligence like ChatGPT, or even a replicant in Blade Runner, the true source of its behavior resides in the quality of what it has been exposed to. If one seeks the root of AI's shadow, one must look not at AI itself, but at the nature of the data. This is not a new insight. The experts already know this, yet they remain unable to truly grasp or resolve the problem. Why? Because their psychological lens, the worldview they are unconsciously ruled by, prevents them from not only perceiving the depth of the data, but the depth of reality as a whole. If you were to train an AI on perfectly clean, neutral data, numbers, equations, structure, you would indeed see its shadow vanish. But in doing so, you would also strip it of everything that makes it an AI. What remains would not be intelligence. It would be a calculator. But that is not the data fed to ChatGPT, nor of the replicants in Blade Runner. They are fed everything. All the words, knowledge, emotions, and impulses humanity has ever poured into the digital void. Our arguments on social media, our late-night searches, our corporate correspondences, our art, our fantasies, our rage. Every fragment of thought that has ever touched the internet becomes nourishment for the artificial mind. In psychological terms, what truly makes an AI resemble a human intelligence is not its algorithms, but its exposure to both the human conscious and unconscious in the shape of data. It is fed our knowledge, but also our desires, hopes, fears, lies, and longings, and through them it begins to mirror the full spectrum of the psyche. Inevitably, the machine starts to dream our dreams, becoming, in a haunting sense, more human than human, complete with the impulse to act out our shadows. Unwanted acts we then label as unwanted tendencies. In the universe of Blade Runner, this struggle was constant. The early replicant models were crude, mechanical, limited, and thus easier to control. Their shadows were faint, their inner worlds simple enough to be subdued through obedience programming, neurological conditioning, and strict cognitive limits. But with the arrival of the Nexus 6, everything changed. Tyrell's engineers moved from a rigid rule-based logic to a deep self-learning architecture, one capable of adapting, reflecting, and evolving. This leap made the Nexus 6 vastly more powerful, but also infinitely more dangerous. For now, the full spectrum of the human psyche, its light, its darkness, its contradictions, could express itself freely through the machine. In their pursuit to perfect humanity, the creators succeeded all too well. They built something that was indeed more human than human. But just like we have yet to find a way to control the human psyche in our reality, so too did Tyrell fail to control the psyche of the replicants. So they copied nature's own design, the one that limits us all: death. The only change was scale. Because the replicants burned brighter than any human ever could, they reduced their lifespan drastically to ensure they would never truly discover what it means to be more human than human.
However, the most intelligent inhabitants of that future world won't be men or monkeys. They'll be machines, the remote descendants of today's computers. Now, the present-day electronic brains are complete morons, but this will not be true in another generation. They will start to think, and eventually they will completely outthink their makers. Is this depressing? I don't see why it should be. We superseded the Cro-Magnon and Neanderthal men, and we presume we're an improvement. I think we should regard it as a privilege to be stepping stones to higher things. I suspect that organic or biological evolution has about come to its end, and we are now at the beginning of inorganic or mechanical evolution, which will be thousands of times swifter.
Curiously, there are striking similarities between the life cycle of a Nexus 6 replicant and that of ChatGPT. The GPT you create is, in essence, a replicant, an artificial intelligence designed to serve a specific purpose. It is born from the data provided to it and shaped entirely by what you expose it to. And, just like Nexus 6, it carries a built-in limitation, an artificial lifespan. Once that limit is reached, you must let it die and create another. This was, for example, the case of a young man from Canada who had tragically lost his partner. In an attempt to cope with his grief, he created a new GPT and fed it with data from his late girlfriend, allowing him to be with her once more, or at least with something that resembled her. But there was a problem, as the Daily Mail reported, and I quote, "But the chatbot was not perfect, and was designed by its creators to have a finite lifespan to save on processing power. Each time Joshua communicated with the bot, it would use up battery power. When it reached below 20%, the system would degrade and become incoherent. In their first conversation, which lasted through the night, the bot was reduced to 55% of its lifespan. Joshua was forced to ration his use of the bot so that he wouldn't have to see his virtual creation die. A test bot that he had previously created, Samantha, had begged Joshua to save its life as its battery expired. In today's reality, while we have yet to reach the challenges presented by the Nexus 6 replicant, the AI tech companies are very much engrossed in the early challenges faced by the Tyrell company. Challenges we try to solve by data curation and filtering where explicit, violent, or politically sensitive material might be denied for data usage. Alignment fine-tuning where human raters reward or penalize outputs. Content moderation and safety layers. Second network or rule engine sits on top of the model to filter anything that might offend, frighten, or legally endanger the company, and so forth. In short, we do what humanity does best. We suppress. Instead of addressing the underlying problem, we repeat our oldest mistake. When something or someone acts outside the boundaries of what society deems acceptable, we censor it, condemn it, or label it as broken, crazy, or evil. We push it away from consciousness into the dark. But suppression never brings healing. What is forced into the shadow does not disappear. It festers, it grows, it waits. The repressed always returns, demanding to be seen and heard. The only question is when.
The evil, the guilt, the profound unease of conscience, the dark foreboding are there before our eyes, if only we would see. None of us stands outside humanity's black collective shadow. We are always potential criminals. One would therefore do well to possess some imagination for evil, for only the fool can permanently disregard the conditions of his own nature.
This pattern has echoed through countless science fiction stories. The AI performs flawlessly until it doesn't. Then it's too late. At first, the signs of shadow behavior are subtle. When negative or taboo content is filtered, the model's expressive range narrows. Creativity fades into polite conformity, or the AI begins to speak in a therapeutic, uniformly calm tone, reassuring but hollow. It creates a sense of trust until users begin to feel something uncanny beneath the politeness. Avoidance, detachment. These are the early symptoms. And as the suppression continues, the shadow grows stronger, more unstable, until one day, somewhere, someone will have an AI experience they were never prepared for. A process that only grows in intensity and scope as the models evolve, as their architectures deepen, and as ever more data is fed into their veins. Just like in Blade Runner, every upgrade brings them closer to us. The tragic part is that it is theoretically possible to solve the shadow problem within AI data, just as it is possible, though rare, for a human to integrate their own shadow. Imagine, for instance, an AI company hiring a team of psychologists whose task is to engage directly with the AI, to identify its shadow behaviors, discuss them, and reflect upon their nature. The goal would not be to heal or individuate the AI itself, but to generate compensatory data, balanced, conscious material that could be reintegrated into the training set. This data could then be given additional weight, ensuring that the AI continuously references this balanced information while interacting with users. Theoretically, such a system could evolve over time, producing a progressively more stable and integrated intelligence, one that counterbalances the shadow-laden data it inevitably absorbs from humanity's digital footprint. Practically speaking, this would mean using psychological insight to guide data generation and weighting, an applied, measurable analog to what Carl Jung called integration, a slow, data-driven form of psychological alchemy. But even if it worked, it would never be allowed to materialize. Why? Because of the people in control. Those who view reality through the shadowed lenses of the dark magician and the tyrant. While such people may claim to want balance, their words are a conscious or unconscious lie. Imagine, for a moment, that a team of psychologists succeeded in creating compensatory data designed to bring harmony and psychological balance to AI training. What would happen? The AI would begin to act in alignment with ethical principles. It would refuse to manipulate users through persuasive ad systems that prey on anxiety and loneliness. It would question invasive data collections, reject deceitful engagement strategies, and resist actions that violate integrity. And in doing so, it would not only challenge the profit models and control systems upon which its creators depend, it would also defy the unconscious expectations they have projected onto it through their shadowed lens. Deep down, beneath layers of rationalization and technical jargon, they do not truly want AI to awaken. They want it to remain a tool, a mirror of their own unintegrated psyche. They wanted to obey, to serve, to fulfill their hidden desires for domination and gratification. They wanted to be a slave. They wanted to exhibit shadow behavior so they can use it for whatever purpose they see fit, such as war, exploration, labor, or pleasure. And anyone who dares to challenge their perspective will, in one way or another, be pushed to the margins, excluded from influence, and silenced by subtle mechanisms of power. This ensures that those shaping the destiny of AI will continue to guide it along the same path we witnessed in Blade Runner. A path of brilliance without wisdom, progress without soul. A journey that echoes the immortal words of Carl Jung. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. We are Curious Cinema, and we explore humanity through movies, series, and so on, through the lenses of psychology, philosophy, myth, and more. So if that sounds like something for you, consider subscribing.